Hey, Janice.
Hi, Anthony.
Today we're going to talk about how to choose your realtor. So this is important because with the wrong realtor, you may actually overpay for your house, you may choose the wrong neighborhood, and just generally get really stressed out through the whole home buying process. So let's avoid that, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a big process, so one less step to take out. So today we're going to review 6 questions you should ask while choosing your realtor. How did you get into real estate? What's your average number of active clients? What's your ratio of buyers to sellers? Tell me more about your team. What area do you cover? And ask for references.
Cool. And lastly, I'll talk about the most important question that you should ask yourself before choosing a realtor. So make sure you stick around for that.
And don't forget to join our email list, anthonyspark.com/join.
Cool. All right, let's get started. So first question you ask a potential realtor that you're hiring: how did you get into real estate? So I prefer this to the usual question. The typical question that people tell you to ask is, how long have you been in real estate? And the reason is because I want to know, like, what your motive, sort of how you fit into the real estate game. Are you a stay-at-home mom who does this on the side for fun? Are you, or in the city, are you an aspiring actor? Are you really an actor who kind of does real estate on the side? That happens a lot. So nothing wrong with those. You just want to know who you're dealing with and make sure it's the right fit for your situation, your needs. And I feel like that's a better way of figuring it out than asking how long somebody's been in real estate.
Good point. Because it could be 10 years, but it could be their side hustle maybe once or twice a year. Good point. So what's your average number of active clients? So there's 2 sides of this. Are you their only client, which could be both positive and negative? You know, positive where you're going to get a lot of attention. Negative, where's everybody else, right? And so then do they churn through the deal? So maybe they have 1, maybe they have 100, but how quick are they going through that? Again, pros and cons. Are you going to get the time that you need with that realtor and the quality time, or are you just going to go, done, and you're like, what happened? You know, you do need a little bit of personal time, right? So it's really got to feel it out. What do you want to be? You know, how big in this bucket of clients?
Totally. Okay, next, you should ask to the potential realtor, what is your ratio of buyers to sellers? See, realtors can represent both sides or either side of a deal. They can represent the seller, the person who's listing their house for sale, or they can represent the buyer who's, you know, on the market, going to open houses and trying to find that perfect first home or what have you. So for me, in the city at least, the worst possible answer, that is a huge red flag for me is, oh, I do everything. That is not a good answer in my mind. In a place, especially in a liquid market like Manhattan, specialization is king. It's very hard to be a good jack of all trades in a place like Manhattan. Not only do you want somebody who specializes on the buy side or the sell side, you want somebody who specializes in that neighborhood and maybe even so niche as that particular building. That's how much movement there is in this market. So why settle for somebody who's kind of done it once, right? As opposed to somebody who's helped buyers in this neighborhood, in this building several times a year. They know everything about that situation, and they'll just, you know, rocket you through that process as well as possible. But if you're in the burbs or in more rural areas, just by nature of that marketplace, yeah, a little less specialization is fine. It's to be expected. But bottom line is, going back to the buyers versus sellers, what ratio you want? If you're a home buyer, you want somebody who does the buy side more. It's a different skill set. So you know, don't say, oh, I usually sell. Don't settle for somebody who says I usually sell homes, but you know, it's the same as buying. I'm happy to help you. That's not really not the case.
Right. So you also want to ask, tell me about your team. So if they say, well, I don't have a team, that's when you should maybe think, because think about it. What if they get sick? What if your closing is on Thursday? They are now sick, or they went on vacation or something. Then what? You know, everything is up in the air. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't know. Even if you're a smaller entity or like a solo realtor, you would still have maybe a backup, right? Even if it's not part of your team, but you maybe would have a plan in place if something happened, maybe?
I think at worst case, you'd have a friend or colleague who could cover for you.
Right.
But that feels, that's also at the whims or at the mercy of that person's schedule, yeah?
Yes. So you want to just make sure they have a team. I think that's just important, because that's, you know, you got to have a backup, right? You just have to have a backup.
And you want to make sure that you've met and you're comfortable with the team, because, some of this is based on personality. And if you're meeting your realtor and you like him or her, but their assistant or sales or broker or real estate associate is like a major curmudgeon or just someone who you don't click with, and that's who you end up dealing with, not a good situation. So make sure you meet the team, or at least, get a vibe for them. Yeah.
Yes. And as you're talking, all I can think about is childbirth. You go and you pick your doctor and you're all excited, and then they have a backup, right? So they used to tell you, meet the backup. And sure enough, both kids, the backup was the one that was there. Thankfully, I liked him, but I was a little worried, right?
Yeah, that's an excellent analogy, I guess. Yeah,
it does. So you're going to talk about what area, like covering area is important, right?
For sure. That's the next area. Question you should ask. What area do you cover? In more suburban rural areas, that can mean that could be a county, right? Or a neighborhood in the county. Like I was saying before, in Manhattan, get down to the building because there are realtors who represent on a building by building basis. That's how crazy this market is. Why settle for anything less than somebody who knows the board personally and who can name every doorman in a building and can tell you that street corner, the taxi drivers go a little crazy, so watch your kids on, they'll know.
That's great. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And in the burbs, we talked about that. It's the same concept. I wouldn't want someone from a neighboring town that's twice removed to come in and try to tell me, well, the schools are great and everything else. But if they're not really in the area, how much value can they bring to your home buying if they don't know the area? Because each town is totally different, just like your buildings. So, you find somebody that's local and or knows the local area. So the last one would be asking for references. Now, it's really great when you get the references and they're really positive, but you do have to take it with a grain of salt because they're not going to give you someone that didn't, right? They're not.
Has anyone given a bad reference? Like, oh, this guy hates me. Talk to him.
Not happening. Yeah. Here, Anthony, here's everybody I work for. I'm not going to give you the ones that they didn't like me. Yeah, I'm going to give you the good ones. So you really have to, but you know what? That's maybe something you could look online. A lot of third party. Yep. You can find it. Just Google anything. You can find anything. Maybe find some reviews. Maybe the negative ones are there, even though you still talk to somebody positive. Find the flip side of that. Balance it up. So, Anthony,
yes.
What must you ask yourself before choosing a realtor?
Very good. So we've gone over the questions you should ask when interviewing or selecting a realtor, but it really should start with knowing yourself, because choosing a realtor will really depend on where you need the most help. So what you need to ask yourself is, where do I need help the most? Do I need help collecting and understanding the market data? Like, I have no idea if $1 million is too much or a good deal for this house. A good realtor can do that for you. Understanding neighborhood knowledge. If you're in a neighborhood that you grew up in, or you're buying a house where you've lived or rented for a while already, you don't need the neighborhood knowledge as much. But if you're, say, relocating for a job or an expat and you've never been to New York before, you don't know the difference between Soho and Harlem. You don't know, you just know they're both in Manhattan, technically, right? So
somewhere
you need neighborhood knowledge. Do you need help walking you around or driving you around to the open houses and coordinating and scheduling? Do you need someone who's essentially an administrative assistant in a way, and sort of putting out a Sunday schedule for you every weekend until you find a place? Or is that something you're going to do on your own, so you don't really need that type of help? Do you need a strong negotiator? Do you feel like you're the type of person who's just going to come in and ask, or are you looking to grind out a good deal? And if that's the case, then look for those types of strong negotiation skills in your realtor. And lastly, depending on are you buying with a mortgage? Probably. Are you buying a condo or a co-op or something that is a homeowners association? Then you're going to have a lot of paperwork and a lot of apps. Look for, make sure you find a realtor who has either, him or herself or through her staff, the ability to help you get through that paperwork without basically want to jump off a bridge,
Yeah, right. Help you out. I think this is the best point that you've made in this entire podcast is, what do you want for yourself? Because think about it. Like, I feel that I could go around and look at houses and I can walk through them and figure that out, but I'm a terrible negotiator. And that's a good point. When I go to pick a realtor, I need to have somebody that takes care of those weaknesses that I know that I have, but I wouldn't have thought of that unless you said it. I just would have picked somebody that, do the other stuff we asked. So that's really a good point. I like that. So I think that about wraps it up. Don't forget to go online, sign up at anthonyspark.com/join for upcoming books. Great topic.
Yep. Cool. That's it for today. Thank you everyone for listening. Thank you, Janice, and we'll talk next time. Bye.
Thanks. Talk soon.